Okay, this should work. All right. Hello. So, this is my 1974 Kawasaki MC90. It is a complete piece of junk, but I love it. I got it on Facebook Marketplace about 4 or 5 months ago during the summer, and I got it for $60. And it didn't run. It hadn't run in 20-something years. It was sitting under a tree that whole time. But I bought it because the engine had good compression, and I figured I could make it run, which I have. So it looked a lot different than it does now, back when I got it. So I've been working on it for the last month and a half, 2 months, ever since my Peugeot blew up. That was entirely my fault. I welded the piston to the cylinder because I ran it too lean. So don't do that. So this thing usually runs great, but now it doesn't because of carburetor issues. Now, I had this carburetor on it. It is I don't know what it is. It's some brand that I'm unfamiliar with. You can see that there, very pretty. Oh yeah, check that out. But it decided it didn't want to work anymore when I was being chased by a car. This guy wanted to try to run me over, it seemed, but the carburetor was on his side, apparently. So I had to take it apart and try to see what was wrong with it. So I took it apart, cleaned it, nothing seemed wrong, but I put it back together, and then instead of putting it back on the bike, which I should have done, I put a different carburetor on it. Set that there. I put a Mikuni clone. I believe this is a 42 millimeter carburetor, so it's huge. You can just tell the physical size difference. This one is meant for a much larger engine. I have the name brand Mikuni one on my RM125 dirt bike, and it works great, but this was $30 on Amazon, so it doesn't work great. It worked fine on my moped, but it didn't work at all on this bike. So I took it back off, and I'm going to be putting this one back on and trying to see if I can get it to run. So this bike, eventually, I'm going to try to make fuel injected, but that will be much longer down the line when I actually have an idea of how to do that. Originally, though, this bike had a Mikuni on it. Now, this is a much older style, much different style than this Mikuni clone, because this is from the 70s. And this carburetor, I believe, was designed in the late 80s. So there's about a 15-year technology difference between the two. But this was the original carburetor, and it did not work when I got it. It was so far gone, not even a complete rebuild kit would have fixed it. So I just tossed it and went to that carburetor there, and it worked fine until it didn't. So we're going to see if we can make it work again, because it's a fun bike when it works. Alright, so I recognize from that first clip that the audio is rough. I'm going to try to fix that. We'll see if I can. But right now, the first thing we're going to do, so this is the intake. You can see in there, nothing fun. So this is the slide off of my fake Mikuni carburetor. And I'm going to take this off and just have the throttle cable be on there. And then we'll be switching to this, which is the new slide. Well, I guess the old slide. Who cares? But it's going to go to this carburetor here. So I'm going to do that off camera because it requires 2 hands, and it's not very exciting to watch. So, all right. All right, so it's the next day. Had to take care of some other stuff, so I didn't get to get working on this till now. But got the carburetor back on, put it back together, got the cable on there. Doesn't but anyway, it's still not running. So I think it could be something to do internally with the engine. I think it might be the rotary valves, which are an interesting thing that exist within this engine. So I'm going to have to take the thing apart, and once I do that, I'll inspect it, and then I'll film that and see what's going on there. Okay, so got the carburetor back on. I didn't actually have to end up taking the engine apart because I took the carb off through here and I saw the rotary valve was spinning fine. I wasn't able to get it on video, so I didn't bother adding that in. But I took out the spark plug because I was spinning it over by hand. I just had it in neutral and I was kicking it over. And so I took the spark plug out so it wouldn't be fighting me on the compression. And I looked at the spark plug gap and I noticed it was way larger than it should have been. So I just, dinked it on the concrete there, closed it up, and put it back in, put the carb back on it, and it ran. So yeah, there's something to be said about making mountains out of molehills. So anyway, I've got the whole thing back together. I'm going to have to retune the carburetor, try to get the fuel air mixture and everything else justified on it. So I'm going to do that off camera because it's boring. But then once it's all ready, I'll fire it up and show it off. Okay. All right, so it's ready to go. I tuned the carburetor a little better, adjusted the clutch. This is the first take. I'm not just saying that because if it doesn't start first kick, I'm just going to keep going with it. But this is first take. It's a little bit warm. See, it's got a suicide shifter, as you can tell. All right. Not first kick. I think it's flooded.